Okay, let's talk about one of nature's most mind-boggling superpowers, regeneration. We're about to dive into how one very special little salamander hasn't just learned to heal, it has totally mastered the art of rebuilding itself from the ground up.
Seriously, just picture it. For us, losing a limb is permanent, a total life changer. The idea of it just reappearing, that's pure science fiction. But what if I told you that for one creature, it's not fiction at all? It's just a regular Tuesday. And here it is. This is the axolotl, a salamander that's native to Mexico. And this little guy doesn't just heal from injuries, it completely remakes itself, turning what would be an absolute catastrophe for us into, well, a temporary problem.
And look, we're not just talking about a scraped knee here. Axolotls can regrow entire legs, bone, muscle, skin, the whole deal. They can repair a crushed spine, regenerate their jaws and nerves, even the tip of their heart. And maybe the most incredible part, they can regenerate damaged parts of their own brain. The scope is just staggering.
So, what's the secret sauce? How is this even possible? Well, the first piece of this puzzle is in the axolotl's super unusual life cycle. You could almost call it the Peter Pan of the animal kingdom.
The scientific term for this is neoteny. All it really means is that the animal hits adulthood and can reproduce while it's still technically in its childhood or larval form. It just never truly grows up.
You can really see the difference here. A normal salamander goes through this big change, metamorphosis, kind of like a tadpole turning into a frog. It loses its gills, it moves onto land. But the axolotl, it just hits pause. It stays in the water, keeps its gills, and lives out its whole life in that larval stage. And that forever young state is thought to be absolutely critical for its regenerative powers.
Okay, so being forever young is a huge advantage. But how does the actual physical process of rebuilding a whole leg work? Let's walk through the step-by-step playbook.
It all happens in 4 amazing steps. First, that wound gets sealed off like instantly. Then, the real magic kicks in. Cells right at the injury site de-differentiate. They basically forget they were skin or muscle cells and go back to being like stem cells. They form this little blob of potential called a blastema. It's like a biological blueprint. Next, this super-sensitive molecule called mTOR flips the on switch, and the whole cellular factory roars to life. And finally, the rebuilding starts at an incredible pace, using this massive stockpile of pre-made instructions, called mRNA, to build that new limb perfectly.
And this is what's so fascinating to scientists. You see, for most animals, a big injury means you go into energy-saving mode. But as researcher Maria Barna says here, the axolotl does the complete opposite. It slams on the gas pedal, ramping up protein production. It pours all its energy into rebuilding, not just surviving.
So it all boils down to this powerful 1-2 punch. You've got that ultra-sensitive mTOR switch that gets flipped on by even a tiny rush of nutrients. And then you have this fully stocked pantry of mRNA instructions ready to go. It's like having a super responsive factory manager and a warehouse that's already full of all the blueprints you'll ever need.
Okay, so the cells are primed and ready to build. But this brings up an even crazier question. How in the world do they know what to build? And maybe just as important, where to stop?
I mean, think about it. If an axolotl loses its limb at the wrist, it grows back a hand. If it loses it at the elbow, it grows back a forearm and a hand. How does the body possibly know the difference?
Well, the answer is something incredible called positional memory. Even when those cells go back to that stem cell-like state, they still hold on to a memory of where they came from. It's like they remember their original address in the body.
And here's how it works. A molecule called retinoic acid, which by the way we have too, creates this chemical map across the limb. Just think of it like a GPS signal. You have a strong signal up at the shoulder and a weak one down at the fingertips. The cells in that blastema can read the signal, figure out their exact coordinates, and know precisely what part needs to be grown next. It's brilliant.
All right, so this all leads to the big question. If the axolotl has all this amazing biological tech and we share some of the same tools, why can't we do it? Well, the difference really comes down to how our bodies respond right after an injury. Let's look at this side by side. When an axolotl gets hurt, there's barely any inflammation. Its cells just get right to work rebuilding. But when a human gets a serious wound, our immune system goes into red alert. We get massive inflammation, and our cells don't rebuild. Their number one job is to seal the wound as fast as possible by making scar tissue. And that's the fundamental problem for us. Scar tissue is a quick fix, but it's a messy one. It's like throwing up a brick wall right in the middle of a construction site. It physically blocks all those delicate signals and cellular chats that would be needed to orchestrate a real, perfect regeneration.
So yeah, we can't regrow limbs today. But studying the axolotl isn't just for fun. It's literally giving scientists a roadmap for the future of human healing.
If we can figure out how to dial down our scarring response and maybe switch on some of our own dormant regenerative genes, it could change everything. We're talking about scar-free healing for burn victims, repairing damaged organs like the liver or heart, treating spinal cord injuries. And yeah, maybe one day, way down the road, even regrowing a lost finger or a whole limb.
And this isn't science fiction. As the National Institutes of Health says, these animals hold the secret. If we can learn their biological language, the language of MTR signals and positional memory, we might just be able to teach our own bodies to heal in ways that we can barely imagine right now.
The axolotl proves that perfect, complex regeneration is biologically possible in a creature that's not so different from us. Nature has laid out the whole instruction manual. The only question left is, how fast can we learn to read it?